The atomic bomb.
And he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Quincyville Sports, and today we are going to have my Big Ten predictions for college football. Yesterday we did the SEC. Tomorrow will be the ACC, so you guys have that to look forward to. As you can see, I am a Michigan State fan, so hopefully they will end up doing well in the Big Ten, but we'll have to see what my predictions hold and what the actual season holds. So I think without any further ado, we will get into this. And thank God I actually remembered to put the intro in. Let me know if you guys like it or dislike it in the comments, but I think we'll start with the Big Ten. We'll start with the Big Ten West. How about that? So coming in last place in the Big Ten West, to I think nobody's surprise, we have the Illinois Fighting Illini. Lovie Smith, former Bears head coach, hasn't seen much success there. And their schedule isn't that kind. They start a game at home against the Akron Zips, and I actually think that's going to be a loss. Akron has a pretty good program. I think they can I think Akron wins that game. So that's 0-1. Connecticut and Eastern Michigan, two more out-of-conference teams that I think will be a win. So we got 2-1. Then they face Nebraska. I think that'll be a loss, 2-2. I think Minnesota will be a loss, 2-3. Michigan will be a loss, 2-4. Wisconsin will be a loss, 2-5. Purdue will be a loss, 2-6. Rutgers will be a loss, 2-7. Michigan State will be a loss, 2-8. Iowa will be a loss, 2-9, and I think Northwestern will also be a loss. So I have the Illinois Fighting Illini going 2-10, 0-8 in conference, 3-1 out of conference. Or wait, how many out of conference games do they have? They only have 3 out of conference games. So I have them going. Yeah, it's going to be a tough year for Illinois. I think 2-10 is max for them. I mean, maybe like 3-9. I don't know. Illinois is going to have a rough year. Next, we have the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And this is a very competitive Big Ten West. There are a lot of games that can go either way, and a lot of teams that are going to have a really good chance to make bowl games. Illinois is really the only team that I think is out of contention to win the division, in my opinion. But for Minnesota, they start off the season against South Dakota State, Fresno State, and Georgia Southern. I think that's 3 wins right there, so 3-0. Purdue, I think, will be a loss, so 3-1. I think that Illinois will be a win, making it 4-1. I think Nebraska will be a loss, so 4-2 there. Rutgers will be a win. I think that's 5-2. Maryland, I think, will be a loss. That's 6-3 or 5-3. Penn State will be a loss. That's 5-4. Iowa will be a loss. That's 5-5. Northwestern will be a loss, 5-7, and I think Wisconsin will be a loss. So 5-7 will be the final record for Minnesota. I kind of said that wrong, but just missing on a bowl game, I think, for them. But I think they do have a very good team, and there are a lot of close games. Like against Maryland's a winnable game, Purdue's a winnable game, Iowa will be a winnable game. A lot of close games, but that's my prediction for Minnesota. Next, we have Northwestern, and I like Northwestern's team this year. However, they kind of do the short end of the stick with some tough out-of-division teams. Like, when they play against teams not in their division, they kind of drew some tough teams. And plus, first game of the season at Stanford, other side of the country, I think that's going to be a loss, 0-1. UNLV, I think, will be a win, 1-1. Michigan State, I think, will be a loss, 1-2. But by the way, I'm going to be at that game. More details on that later, but I am actually going to be at Michigan State versus Northwestern at Northwestern. So 1-2 so far. I think Wisconsin will be a loss, 1-3. I think Nebraska will be a loss, 1-4. I think Ohio State will be a loss, 1-5. I think that Iowa will be a loss, 1-6. Indiana should be a win, 2-6. Purdue, I think, will be a win, 3-6. Massachusetts will be a win, 4-6. Minnesota can be a win, 5-6. And I think Illinois will be a win. So 6-6 for Northwestern. I think they will end up making Well, at 6-6, they would make a bowl, probably a little small bowl. But Northwestern, I like their team, but not as much as I did last year with Clayton Thorson not being there anymore. But they do have a solid team, and they can make some noise maybe in the Big Ten. They made it to the Big Ten championship last year. All right, next we have Purdue, and they have an interesting schedule. They play Nevada at Nevada to start the season. I feel like that might be a tough game. Nevada has a very good environment. Ryan Cash Money is a Nevada fan. I think he will just ask him. He knows I'm right. But I think Purdue ends up getting a win there. I think against Vanderbilt they can also get a win, so that's 2-0. And then TCU at home, I think can be a win. So 3-0 for Purdue out of conference to start the season. I think even Minnesota can be a win, so 4-0. Penn State I think will be a loss, so that's 4-1. Maryland will be a win, 5-1. I think Iowa will be a loss, 5-2. Illinois is a win, 6-2. Nebraska is a loss, 6-3. Northwestern is a loss, 6-4. Wisconsin will be a loss, 6-5, but I think Indiana will be a win to make them go 7-5, similar to last season. My friend says Rondell Moore will win the Heisman. I think that's kind of funny, but I mean, hey, stranger things have happened. But Purdue, I think 7-5 is fair. Next, we have TEU, the University of Iowa. They produce great tight ends, I'm telling you. But they have, I think they will finish right above Purdue in the standings. They start the season off against Miami of Ohio. That should be a win. Rutgers should be a win. Iowa State at Iowa State, I think, will be a loss. I like Iowa State this year. So 2-1. Middle Tennessee State, I'll make that 3-1. Michigan, make that 3-2. Penn State, I think at home they can get a win. I'm going to say that Iowa beats Penn State, so 4-2. Purdue will be a win, 5-2. Northwestern will be a win, 6-2. Wisconsin will be a loss, 6-3. Minnesota will be a win, 7-3. Illinois will be a win, 8-3, and I think Nebraska will be a loss. So 8-4 for Iowa. I think they make a pretty good bowl game. They played Mississippi State last year in some Sutton Bowl. I can't remember if they won or not, but Iowa, very interesting team. Like I said, all the teams in the Big Ten West have a chance to make the Big Ten championship. No lie. Finishing in second in the Big Ten West, we have the Wisconsin Badgers. To open up the season, they have South Florida and Central Michigan. 2 wins easy there. Then Michigan at home. I'm going to say loss, but I think that's a very close and competitive game. I'm very excited to see that one. Northwestern should be a win. Kent State should be a win. Michigan State at home, I think, will be a win. Illinois on the road should be a win, so that's 6-1. Ohio State, that's 6-2. Iowa, 7-2. Nebraska, 7-3. Purdue, 8-3. And Minnesota, 9-3. So Wisconsin, they're either boom or bust. They were in the top 10 last year and then only made it to the Pinstripes Bowl. So, I don't know. They always start off hyped and then they either perform really well and then choke it at the end of the season, or they choke it early in the season. So you never know with Wisconsin. But now to the team that I have winning the Big Ten West, and this is a bit of a hunch, but the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, I'll explain why I picked them when I'm done with their schedule, but there's no real clear-cut winner, I think, for this division. I mean, it's tough. It can go to pretty much anyone besides Illinois. But Nebraska opens the season against South Alabama. I would hope that's a win. They played Colorado at Colorado. Now, Colorado beat them last year. Pretty fierce rivalry game there. I think that Nebraska wins that game, and then they play Northern Illinois, and I think that will also be a win. So that's 4-0 to start the year. Then they play Illinois. I think that, Illinois will make it 4-0. Then they play Ohio State at home. And I am going to go on a hunch and say that is a win. I think they win that game against Ohio State. I don't know. I really like Nebraska last year. They held Ohio State close last year. I think they're going to improve better this year. I think that's a win. So 5-0. Northwestern will make that 6-0. Minnesota will make it 7-0. Indiana will make it 8-0. Purdue will make it 9-0. Wisconsin will make it 10-0. But I have some sad news. Some sad news. I think they get beat by Maryland in Week 13 because Maryland was a sneaky team last year. They have a lot of their players returning, and I think that Nebraska will get overconfident and lose that game. I don't think they'll go undefeated, but if I have them beating Ohio State, I have to have them losing to someone else. I think that the most likely of those would be Maryland, and then Iowa should be a win. So 11-1 for the Cornhuskers. Could be 10-2, could be 9-3, could be 6-6 for all I know. But I think that they make it to the Big Ten championship. That's a huge hunch, but I think it'll happen. You guys are either going to come back at this video later and you're probably just going to completely laugh at me. But that's my picks for the Big Ten West. To go over the Big Ten West standings, we have Nebraska in first, then Wisconsin, then Iowa, then Purdue, then Northwestern, Minnesota, and Illinois. Now let's go on to the SEC Big Ten East. To no one's surprise, finishing in last place, I have Rutgers. I think they could be UMass to start the season, but after starting 1-0, if they do end up starting 1-0, it could be downhill from there. Iowa will be a loss. Boston College is a loss. Michigan, Maryland, and Indiana, I think they'll lose all three of those. Minnesota will be a loss. Liberty, I think, could be a win. Illinois will be a loss. Ohio State's going to be a loss. Michigan State and Penn State will all be losses. So sorry, Rutgers, you don't really belong in the Big Ten. Sorry to any Rutgers fans. Comic Dude 45. I apologize, but 2-10 for Rutgers. That's what I see. Finishing right in front of Rutgers, we have Indiana. A former they still are, I would consider, a basketball school, but not very good in football. I think they could start the season off with wins against Ball State and Eastern Illinois, but after that, it's kind of downhill. I think Ohio State will be a loss, although UConn should be a win. So 3-1 to start the year. I think Michigan State is a loss, so 3-2. I think Rutgers can be a win, so that's 4-2. Maryland 4-3. Nebraska 4-4, Northwestern 4-5, Penn State 4-6, Michigan 4-7, and I think they'll end the season with a loss against Purdue. So 4-8 for Indiana is all I've seen. Again, nothing really special there for the Hoosiers, but yeah, not too exciting if you're an Indiana fan. Next, we have a team that I think might be able to get some upsets this year. Maryland almost beat Ohio State last year. They have a lot of the returning cast coming back, and I feel like they have a lot of winnable games on their schedule, though they do have some tough games. They started the season against Howard. I would hope that's a win, so we'll go 1-0. I think they will lose to Syracuse, however. I really like Syracuse the last few years, so there's 1-1. I think Temple will be a win. That's 2-1. I think Penn State will be a loss. That's 2-2. Rutgers will be a win. 3-2. Purdue will be a win, 4-2. Indiana can be a win, 5-2. Minnesota can be a win, so that's 6-2. However, they end their season against Michigan, Ohio State, Nebraska, and Michigan State. And I think they will lose to Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State, but I think they will beat Nebraska at home. I think that's a very winnable game for them. So, overall, let's go over this again. I think they'll go 7-5 for Maryland. I think that's pretty respectable. I think they'll make a bowl game. I like Maryland. I feel like they can maybe make some noise in the Big Ten this year. All right, finishing in fourth in the Big Ten West, we have Penn State. Big Ten East, my bad. Penn State. Now, I don't know why everyone's so hyped about Penn State. I'm not a big believer in Trace McSorley. I don't think they have a lot of spectacular pieces to win some games, although they are not the worst team in the Big Ten. But talk about a cupcake on a conference schedule. They play Idaho, Buffalo, and I guess Pitt is okay, but 3-0 to start the year. Maryland, I think, will be 4-0. Purdue will be 5-0. I think Iowa could even make it 6-0. So 6-0 to start the year for Penn State. They already have a bowl game qualification. I think Michigan will be a loss. So 6-1. I think Michigan State will be a loss. That's 6-2. I think Minnesota and Indiana are both winnable games, although I think they lose to Ohio State but beat Rutgers to end out the season. So 9-3 for Penn State. I think that's pretty respectable. So 9-3 for Penn State. I think they'll make a pretty decent bowl game. But now let's get to our top three in the Big Ten West. Finishing third in the Big Ten East, I have my Michigan State Spartans. Now, they, I think, have kind of one of the tougher schedules. Out of conference, it's Tulsa, Western Michigan, and Arizona State. I think Tulsa and Western Michigan are 2 wins right there. But Arizona State might be tough, although it is at home. Last year we lost to them, but I think at home we get the win. So that's 3-0 to start the year. Northwestern, I said I'll be at that game. I'll let you guys know that earlier in the video when I did Northwestern. I think Michigan State will win that game, being 4-0. I think Indiana will make it 5-0. Wisconsin, however, I think is a loss, making it 6-1 for Michigan State. Or no, 5-1. Wisconsin will be a win, 6-1. I think Penn State could actually be a win, 7-1. Illinois is a win, 8-1. Michigan at the Big House, I think will be a loss, so 8-2. Rutgers and Maryland, I think could both be wins. So 10-2 for Michigan State might be stretching it a tad, but I think they can get some stuff done in the Big Ten. I think third's fair for them. Now let's get to the top 2 teams you've all been waiting for. I'm sure you guys are so excited. Alright, now the team featuring Zeus himself, Shea Patterson, the absolute GOAT, said no one ever. But I think Michigan will finish second in the Big Ten West. You guys know, Michigan, they pull the same stuff every year. So let's go through their schedule. It's pretty easy to start it out. They start out the year off Middle Tennessee State. That should be a win. Army might give them some trouble, but eventually I think they'll pull that out. So 2-0. I think if they can beat Wisconsin and Rutgers, so that's 4-0. Iowa and Illinois should be wins. That's 6-0. Penn State should be a win. That's 7-0. Notre Dame. This is going to be tough. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say at home, Michigan gets it done. I think they can beat Notre Dame at home. I think that's going to be a win. Then I think Maryland could be a win. We already mentioned that Michigan State will be a win. That's going to be a really good game at the Big House, but I think Michigan can pull it off, and I think they'll beat Indiana as well. That brings them at 11-0. And then they have to face their dad, Ohio State. And I think, you guys already know, they pull this every year. They'll go 10-1, 11-0. They walk into Ohio State, and they get spanked every year. Wasn't last year supposed to be the year that they made the playoff and, beat Bama or something? And then, 69 points happened? I think they go 11-1 and lose to Ohio State. I think you guys all saw that coming. And now, to everyone's favorite team, your Big Ten West champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this team, but you cannot deny that they are good. They just got Justin Fields, number 1, I guess, projected player for this year. I don't know how they're describing him nowadays, but Justin Fields is a great player. And let's get into Ohio State. Now, I'll tell you this right away. I don't have them going 12-0, and we'll get into that later. I think Florida Atlantic is a win, Cincinnati is a win, Indiana and Miami of Ohio will be wins. So that's 4-0. But then in week 5, I think they get a loss. They have to go to Nebraska in a ruckus 92,000 crowd. And I think they get a loss at Nebraska. I really like Nebraska. Scott Frost took UCF from 0-12 to 12-0. And after Nebraska had a disappointing season last season, I think he can turn them around and make them a legit contender in the Big Ten East. And I think they can beat Ohio State at home. But it's not all bad for Ohio State because Michigan State will be a win. Northwestern, Wisconsin, I think they can beat Wisconsin. Maryland and Rutgers are definitely wins. Penn State, I think, can be a win. And then Michigan at the Big House, you already know that's going to be a win. Michigan cannot beat Ohio State. So I have Ohio State finishing at 11-1. Same record as Michigan. However, Ohio State will, if my predictions are correct, which they probably won't, Michigan will have lost the tiebreaker with Ohio State. So that means we would have not a national championship, thank God, a Big Ten championship of Nebraska and Ohio State. And I think this would be a close game, but I said Nebraska would win on their home turf. This would be at a neutral site in Indianapolis, and that's where I think Ohio State would really take control. It's hard to beat a great team twice. So I think Ohio State will end up making the Big Ten championship and possibly the playoff. We'll get into that later. But thank you guys for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. The ACC predictions will be coming tomorrow. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.